Hello and welcome to Plot Twisters.
This is a podcast where we take movies and twist the plot to see if we can make them better, and if not, more profitable.
At the moment, we're talking about teen movies from the 80s.
On this episode, Risky Business from 1983.
I'm Emma and I'm over 3 hours late. I've got 2 minutes to take the whole test. I've just made a terrible mistake. I'll never go to college. My life is ruined.
I'm Anders, and sometimes you just gotta say, what the heck?
I feel like that's a good motto for you.
For me in general, just what the heck?
Yeah. But for you, it's more like, hey, what the heck, I'll do it. But for me, it's like, what? What the heck? I'm so confused by everything, you know?
Sometimes I wake up in the morning and I draw the curtains and I look across this great nation of ours and I say, hey, what the heck?
Yeah.
And I mean it positively. Like, what the heck, people? Let's roll up our sleeves and get to work. Let's clean up this town, right? Just like Mayor Goldie Wilson.
How often would you say that you head out in your day to clean up the town?
Well, I've picked up, I think at least once or twice in my life, I've picked up a piece of garbage off the ground and put it in the bin and looked around and asked, where's my trophy? To myself and then potentially to the world. Where is my trophy, by the way? I've picked up pieces of garbage.
Why don't we all get trophies?
Yeah.
You know, that's what American high school movies told me would sort of happen, is that you all get like, oh, you're most likely to be great and you were best kid this year and you won the prom king or whatever, and that's how life works. But
you're talking about participation medals? How come we all don't get participation medals, you know? And I don't need them to be big or flashy or made of expensive metal, although I do hope that they're big and flashy and made of expensive metal. I just feel like, you know what we need as a society? It's just like maybe a bi-weekly participation medal that says, you did it. You were a part of this. Thanks for playing. And we're still here. Here's your medal. Put it with the others and get back to work. What do you think?
Yeah, just like, but I'd prefer more specificity, like, oh, you did a really good job of folding all your laundry this week, or you sent all your Christmas cards on time for the first year ever, or something like that.
How would people be chosen for this award? Is it some sort of an anonymous? Can you nominate yourself, or does somebody else have to nominate you?
Everybody puts their name in a hat, and by in a hat I mean it's on a website,
right? And
then you get randomly selected, and you have to pick an award for someone else. And you have to like come up with some interview questions, send them over, they respond, and then based on their answers, you come up with the most appropriate award for them.
Does everybody get chosen at least once, like that thing in that episode of The Simpsons where eventually it's Homer's turn and then they pick that inanimate carbon rod instead? And it's such a ripoff because it was his turn.
That's a deep cut. I mean, it's like if you apply to be part of the awards, you automatically have to get selected because someone else has to select you. I think that could help make the world a better place. Welcome to my manifesto for government 2022.
Can I ask a follow-up? What else is on your manifesto for 2022? Can you give us a couple
That's
of
it.
That's it. That's a whole thing?
Yeah.
Bold. I love that.
I'm a one policy party. Just the award thing. Vote for me.
I will vote for you. And can I just tell you a real quick story? One time when I went to the grocery store. This was not that long ago. Okay. And it just reminds me of your manifesto.
A lot of your stories are about the grocery store.
I have stories about the things, but this is kind of like, you know, I'm trying to curate a certain persona. So like my whole thing is like chilled out dude who also doesn't mind going to the grocery store, and I think people will respond to that. So one time I go to the grocery store and I look in the cart, and you know that thing where you find like somebody else's shopping list, and you read it a little bit because you want to see an insight into somebody else, and maybe you hope it's funny or deep or meaningful or whatever. Mm-hmm. This is none of those things. I looked down and I saw a grocery list, and it had exactly 2 items on it, and do you know what it had?
No.
Flour and milk. And that was a written grocery list.
Making pancakes. Maybe.
I assume so. Or waffles. Either way, bro, you don't need to write that down. Do you know what I mean?
I would.
What has happened in this person's life?
I, as you know, famously live above a supermarket, and I will go downstairs to the supermarket, which is a 40-second walk from where I
you
currently
live.
am
Yeah,
sitting
yeah,
right now.
Yeah.
I will go downstairs. I will forget the singular item that I travelled 40 seconds for in that time on a regular basis.
Do you think you'd write the CEO of Tesco and ask if they could install some sort of a fireman's pole situation that would speed up your journey?
A dumb waiter. We're really rattling away on a little runaway minecart here, but I would love a house with a dumb waiter in it. I think that'd be so much fun. So this week we watched the movie Risky Business. This movie has got Tom Cruise in it, which is great fun. And
yes, it does.
I'm very excited to hear your opinion of it, because I have no idea what it's going to be. But before we get to that point, I believe it's your turn to give us a little.
It is my turn.
A little rundown-a-roo.
It's my turn to do the thing we call the rundown runaroo. This movie does in fact star Tom Cruise. That is a fact. I'm going to tell you a few facts about this movie, but let's start with the fact that Tom Cruise is the titular Mr. Business in the movie
Our Business.
Richard Business. No. Tom Cruise. What if that was his name?
Risky is a cool nickname for Richard. I like that.
Richard Risky Business.
Yeah.
I'm gonna struggle to stay to the point because I have a lot to say about this movie, but I'm just gonna try to pin my emotions for a second and tell you that this film is about a high school senior called Joel, whose parents go away on vacation and say to him, "We trust you. Don't have parties. We trust you. Have a good time. Get into a good college. We'll be back in a little bit, but we trust you."
Also, I have a very fancy crystal egg that I love.
Also, whatever you do, don't break the crystal egg on the mantelpiece. His friends are all like, "Oh, your parents are gone? Maybe you should hire a prostitute to come to your house." "Oh, no, says Joel. Don't do that." And his friend goes, "Yep, I'm going to hire a prostitute." And then a prostitute shows up. The story kind of escalates quite quickly to Tom Cruise turns his parents' house into a brothel. And then the pimp master, Guido, comes and they almost get in trouble, but they put all the furniture back and the parents come home and they're like, "Oh, Dad, how was your time away? Did you learn anything, son?" And then Tom Cruise is like, "Everything's fine, Dad." And then the mom goes, "You broke my crystal a little bit." And then Tom Cruise goes, "I'm sorry about your egg, Mom." And then I think he goes to college and that's the end of the movie.
I feel like we've talked about the Mandela effect before on our podcast.
Yes, we have.
I feel like I had a bit of a Mandela effect moment, which is the bit where he slides in on the floor, that very famous specific shot of that very famous scene. The moment where he slides in, I thought he had his sunglasses on, but he doesn't.
Oh.
And it's really weird because I was like, I feel like the only bit of this film I know is that shot before seeing it. And I also know that he has the glasses on, but he doesn't in that shot. And it really, really threw me. And I thought about it for a while. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. Why did I think... Okay.
That's weird. I mean,
yeah,
hey,
weird, right?
I guess it just proves that this scene is so iconic that it has the ability to morph and change in your own mind.
I know what it is. I'm sure I've seen it parodied by somebody with a white shirt on.
Yeah.
And the glasses. That must be what it is. Anyway.
You're thinking about Hugh Grant in the movie Love Actually.
Actually.
Right.
That must, surely.
When he's in the shirt and he's dancing around. I don't know. Look, I don't want to be obtuse and say, "Oh, again, how did this movie get made?" But I'm going to ask, isn't it crazy that a movie like this movie exists?
No, I don't think so.
Explain.
Well, I don't know. Why do you think it's so crazy that a film like this exists?
Because the whole entire movie seems to teach us as a viewer that it's fine to be a part of the sex trade as long as you don't get caught at the end, and be a teenager. The children involved in this in the trading of sex.
Well, I think that perhaps what you're assuming there is that the film is condoning what it's presenting.
It feels like it is, yeah, doesn't it?
I didn't get that from it. I didn't feel like it was necessarily sort of extolling the storyline and the characters. I felt like it was more of a commentary and a presentation of ideas, personally.
Oh.
And I think there's loads of films which do that, which explore dark topics and dark characters and you know, anti-heroes, and without necessarily saying, as a film, this is a good thing. You know,
I like it when you fancy up stuff that I think is sort of meh. You got such a good way of doing that, right? You know, I look at it and go,
thanks.
You know, it's a cheese sandwich, meh. And you go, no. This is an exploration of cheddar. Okay, right? This is a rendezvous.
Yeah,
with toasted
You're a sandwich
bread.
kind of guy. I'm an open sandwich kind of gal.
Exactly. I don't know. Maybe I'm being old fashioned, but it just sort of felt really icky to me. Where this movie had that real '80s vibe of like bunch of dudes who want to have sex, and in this one, they happened to have a newspaper and realized that they could just buy sex. You know, and it just felt a little bit like, I don't know, this one scene when there's like a clearly like 14-year-old boy or younger sat on the couch of this brand new for one weekend only brothel that is Joel's house. And it just made me think like, you're a little dude. You shouldn't be at this. You shouldn't be there, right? You should be at home playing some video games, not in a world of people of the night, people of the evening, you know?
I would say that there are films, and I think this is one of them, which are designed to make you feel icky because they're making some kind of point about the world, and they are, like I said, they're presenting an issue that you're then going to, that challenges your preconceptions of the world. And like, it's interesting that you said the movie teaches us. I don't really think that movies are meant to teach you something unless they're like kids movies. You know, often kids movies have a moral of the story that is designed to teach a child,
right?
You know,
right.
You should look out for your friends, or
I didn't know myself until I saw Moana.
Whatever.
Okay, you know,
yeah, like
that's
your sister's frozen and you need to demonstrate your love for her to unfreeze her, that kind of thing.
Doesn't have to be a snowman. Okay, bye. But
I think a lot of films for adults, which are a bit deeper than, say, like, you know, you could say like a rom-com is entertainment that probably has a hero which we relate to, we understand them, we root for them, and we want them to succeed. And, you know, they end up doing the right thing in the end, and we go, oh yeah, that was what they're supposed to do. They were meant to go, you know, they were meant to marry the good guy, not the bad guy. But yeah, I would say this sort of film with, you know, this, we have this thing like this term, an anti-hero, which is a character who we know is a bad guy.
Right.
So like a famous example would be something like The Big Heat or Wolf of Wall Street or even The Godfather. You know, they are bad people, but we can still follow their storyline.
Sure.
We can still invest in it, and we can still think about things as a result of it without necessarily agreeing with their decisions or supporting their decisions. So my take on this film, and obviously all takes are valid, so I'm not saying that this is by any means the right way to think about it, because I don't think there is one right way, but I would say that I think the director was presenting this idea of extremely rich, extremely privileged. You know, so often it's mentioned how much money these people have.
Yeah.
There's a bit where Lana says, oh, look, you're judging me from sitting on your dad's $40,000 car, right? So it is highlighted, the writer is highlighting that this guy is extremely privileged, and he also is applying to Princeton, which is a place where the extremely privileged people go, and he gets in by playing the game correctly in a way, which is not by being academically successful and earning his place for his own merit. Right. It's by being a lad and demonstrating to the Princeton admissions guy, you know, that he's a player or whatever, right? So, and that's probably realistic in a lot of ways. Like a lot of the Ivy League universities do base things on privilege and connections and things like that rather than academic prowess. So I think there's a lot of and the fact that the parents are supportive, the fact that he gets away with it, the fact that his friends are all fine with it. They talk about like, hey, we've got all of these rich kids who have their money and are really horny. Why not make the most of it?
So horny.
I think, I'm sure there is a lot of truth in it. About the state of the world and the state of America, and I would say it's making more of a point about that rather than it is condoning or glamorizing it. Perhaps
that's such a hey. Listen, all opinions are valid, and yours is a much, like I think a more intriguing take than. I'm watching this movie and I'm like, dudes, like,
chill
guys,
out, dudes.
Put it, dude. Hey, men, gentlemen of this film, put it on ice, okay? Calm. They're all so. It made me uncomfortable, I think, because they were just all so just horny about it, and it was just like a bunch of dudes who are like, "We need to sex it up. Good thing we have money." And your point is, I hear you. It's a commentary. In my mind, I wasn't seeing that. I was just saying it's like, man, this movie is just about a bunch of... This is like every teenage movie that we've watched so far, except the difference is they called up a hooker.
Didn't we see another one with a sex worker in it? I'm sure we did.
Have we? We haven't watched Pretty Woman because those are grown-ups, not teenagers.
No,
is there one with
a shame?
Is there another movie with the people with the?
I feel like there is. I don't know, but it's like I think that what I liked about it is that it didn't treat it as a joke, and it didn't treat the sex workers as a joke either. They were all people with their own thoughts and opinions, and
I liked that. Okay,
that
my beef with this movie is it's the adolescent boys and men. I also don't know anything. I don't. Whatever. I know a little bit about a lot of things, but I know a lot about very few things. Okay, when it comes to the complex topic of prostitution, here's what I know. The movie Risky Business, the movie Pretty Woman, and also that people who are in that industry need more protection.
Yes. I enjoyed the energy of this film a lot. I like the pacing of it. The way that the music, which was amazing, Tangerine Dream, incredible. The, do. I thought that all fitted in really nicely to create this really mystical, dreamlike pacing. And I think particularly stuff like, so the bit where he first meets Lana and they have their little encounter against the wall and the window blows open and the lights come on, like it gives it this little very encounter. Sort of whilst it is it is a dodgy subject, certainly it gives it this very quite like theatrical quality and this sort of magical music video style shooting. It does feel like a fantasy to me. The whole film feels like a guy, a sleazy, horny teenage kid sat down one day and was daydreaming during his math class, and this is what he thought up could happen to him. It doesn't feel like a real story. It feels like there's truth in it, and there's like parts of political class issues and privilege is a huge thing in this, which are discussed, which do feel realistic, but a lot of it does feel real. And it's obviously it's so unlikely and it's so implausible that a teenage kid would end up in a situation where all these amazing glamorous women are wandering around his house and he's in charge of it and it's all great and fine.
Right.
But it's fun to see that sort of fantasy indulged, I guess. So yeah, I like that a lot, and I liked the way that it portrays complex characters and in a very fast-moving storyline. There's a lot of twists, and the stakes escalate and they escalate and they escalate. So you do feel that sense of tension of, what's going to go happen and something going to go wrong. It's a similar, there's a lot weird similarities with Ferris Bueller, actually, in the sense that he's trying to get away with something. And he's, there's that same scene where he's trying to get back before the parents get back.
Right. But yeah, I get that.
But the stakes are a lot higher, and the tension felt a lot higher for me as well.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge Tom Cruise fan, but I thought he was pretty good. So yeah, all of those things I liked, and I think the dialogue was really well written. I think it's a really well paced script with a lot of interesting dialogue. I didn't like so much, I think, the fact that there wasn't more criticism and more negative portrayal of his privilege. And this is why I suppose I was thinking of it, like I said, as it's his daydream, because it's kind of
Right.
I think it is there, but it's quite deeply hidden. So I would have liked to have seen it being more critical, and I would have liked to see them a bit... I would have liked to see these characters being a bit more grotesque, I suppose.
Yeah.
I think also there are some bits which are kind of problematic, but then I am also like, well, it was the 80s, so...
Man, it's interesting. I mean, have you always felt that way about like, oh, it's the 80s or whatever, or is that starting to grow after we've watched, albeit some of the more positive films of the 80s? Has that adjusted your feeling of like, oh, well, it was the 80s, so it was like that?
I don't know. I think I am definitely more willing to forgive films their time period if I think they were well made. Like, the less well made a film is, the more critical I am of it being a product of its time.
If it's good, it's fine. But if it's trash, then I'll definitely trash it.
Cancelled, yeah. So, because that's what matters to me,
right.
personally, is that I like things that are well made and well constructed. So therefore, I feel more endeared to them, regardless of their flaws. But different things matter to different people, so
Fair enough. Hey, I'm like, no, I get it, right? For me, maybe because I identify as a man. I have been an adolescent man. I've been a boy even as well. I was also a baby at one point, but you have to dig real hard to find those photos. No, I joke. I was a cute baby. I'll send you a photo of me as a baby. Just at me on any social media platform. I think that for me it felt icky because being a teenage boy / man / bro, it's a tough transition from adolescent to adjusted adult human, and watching a film that is just a horny fest of dudes, watching men make a decision that I personally think probably is the wrong decision, makes it hard for me to look at this film objectively and go, what a great movie. When it's like, I just think there's so much they could have been doing that was risky. Why did it have to be prostitution business? Right? And I'm not trying to jump to what we're going to twist it to, although what if instead they were making like artisan chocolate, right? Still risky, not as sexy, better for humanity. And that, my friend, is my 3-point platform for running for mayor. I just feel like it was just a bit too horny for me.
Do you think there's an element of like, I find this so fascinating whenever I've talked to like my male friends about, when we've had discussions about, feminism and the way that they think about women and treat feminism and all this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I feel like I almost detect like a sense of like internal policing, if you see what I mean, of like, I have to be really careful how I think about this because I don't want to trip up and accidentally be a sexist or whatever,
Oh.
And it's like, and people are often very, very reticent to admit that, and you need to get a few drinks in them first. But like, I think everyone has a sense of, I don't want to be a bad person. I don't want to be I don't want to be a problematic or get cancelled, or even just as simple as I don't want to offend anyone and I don't want to do the wrong thing. I think my approach to that sort of thought process is that I now feel confident enough in myself and my views on the world and my intention to do good that I don't worry about that too much, and I try not to prioritize worrying about that, and I try instead to prioritize continuing to learn and listen. But I do feel like sometimes you come across a situation where they do have this kind of deep-rooted fear of like, I really don't want to say the wrong thing and offend a woman and or a person of color or whatever. Do you think that maybe this almost like triggered a similar sense of like, I don't know, like I don't want to enjoy watching problematic dudes do problematic things because I shouldn't do that because then I'm problematic too?
No, I just don't think that I don't think that teenagers should call upon professional sex workers as their entrance into sexuality. I that's what I think anyway.
I don't like it and I don't want to see it.
I don't like it and I don't want to see it. And, you know, I'm not saying that it doesn't exist because, boy, howdy, it's the oldest profession, as we know. But, like, you know, you're talking about privilege. It just feels a bit like rich suburban white kids call up some ladies of the night and they do sex. And what ends at the end of it is that their parents come home and nobody gets caught. You know, I think they should feel a little bit of, I just sort of feel like they should be trying to make sure they focus on their studies and then go into the prom or whatever. I don't know. It just felt a bit like...
So what you want is you want a nice film with nice boys, working hard, doing well, being polite to everyone.
Sure.
And his parents go away and he doesn't have any parties and he cleans his house and does the laundry and does the gardening and then his parents come home and they're proud of him and he gets into Princeton. Is that what you want?
Yeah, I mean, it may be like he messes up the laundry and he puts like a red shirt in with the white clothes and it turns all pink.
Oh, you know which film you'd love?
What?
Paddington 2.
Paddington 2. Oh, which I've never seen!
Oh my god, still,
you know,
you're on a clock here, friend. You're on a recommendation clock here. I'm gonna start building the pressure.
Have you ever thought about making your very own podcast? We'd love to recommend that you use Podbean to host your podcast. Right now, if you use Podbean and go to the website podbean.com/plottwisters, you will get a month of free podcast hosting. Do you know why? Because we love you. And so does Podbean. Use it or lose it. Hey, Emma, have you ever heard that thing where it's like, if a fish and a bird fall in love, where will they live? You know?
Oh my god, that's really sad.
I know, but if you think long and hard...
Birdie-O and Juliet. And Julie... fish pun.
Capulet, let's go fishing, and the Romulet. Carpulets. So you're familiar with the whole thing, right?
Yep.
Obviously.
Yep, obviously.
The bird and the fish fall in love, and it's like, where will they live? And a lot of people in the world will say, there's no such place. And do you know what I say? Just a misty breeze, right? They can live in a misty breeze.
You've clearly never been to Forks, Washington, is what you say. The rainiest place in America.
That's where they live.
Yeah.
Come and live with me in a rain-drenched, humid spot where birds and fish are, let's be honest, both kind of miserable, but they're alive, right? But they're alive.
Yeah.
And I bring this birdfish miracle up because you loved this movie. I didn't
say loved.
You liked this movie.
Thank you.
And I found it to be a little bit meh, right?
I didn't want this to suddenly turn into, hey, you like the sex movie. You love the sex movie.
You like the sex movie. You like the sex movie.
It's just give all of this nuance and balanced.
Everybody's talking about
analysis.
it. Everybody's talking about it. Didn't you hear people screaming?
And then it just turns into, oh, you like the sex. Hey, remember when we watched that sex movie and you loved it and you were like, this is the best movie I've ever seen? Remember that? And I'm like, no, I talked about the cinematography. And you're like, you like the sex movie.
Well, I'm just passing by, but I heard that Emma likes the sex movie. And I approve because I also like the sex movie. I'm a new character. My name is Sexy Ronnie.
Ooh, hey, Sexy Ronnie. Nice to meet you. So, what's your deal?
Hey, I like sexy things. I like sexy movies. I also like automotive repair. And I also like... skeezing people out on the corner of my block. I go out and I go hee, and I wiggle around, and then people get up uncomfortable about me.
Hey, wait a minute. I know who you are. You're not sexy Ronnie. You're skeezy Ronnie. Skeezy Ronnie.
Tell me
Sexy
the
Ronnie's
difference.
cousin.
Tell me the difference. I'm the same, one and the same. What you doing, girl? Is my tagline.
Recording a podcast right now. What are you doing?
I'm on my way to the dime.
You know what I find is a really good way to like counteract people who are being like creepy or weird or sexist or
Ooh,
whatever.
tell me.
It's just detail. Loads of detail. What are you doing? Hey, what are you doing right now? Well, right now I'm sitting in a chair. It's like a black office chair, and I'm at my desk. It's a nice bamboo desk, and I'm currently recording a podcast.
Nice. It's sustainable material.
Ooh, sexy. Nothing sexier than sustainability. You were saying.
I gotta go. Bye.
Leave, Ronnie. Goodbye.
Hey, sorry about that. Sorry. Sometimes people come and go in my studio. It's not my fault, okay? I try to stop them, but actually I do not want to stop humanity being like the way they are. The bird and the fish, right? The bird and the fish. I'd love to find a way that you and I can come up with a twist that makes us both feel better about the outcome. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Would you be the bird, or would you rather live in the sky or in the sea? Would you be the bird or the fish?
I've always wanted to fly, and I fear the deep end. So, gonna be the bird.
And as I've famously said, I'd quite happily live in the...
You'd like to live in the
deep sea.
Yeah, as a weird ass fish. I remember that.
Yep.
So
I'm a normal person.
I have friends and a credit card and everything.
I do. I have both of those things. So, what's the risky business?
So, are we keeping the same premise? Rich white guys who live in the suburbs who are doing something risky?
I think so. I think
while their parents are away?
We just need to change what the business is, right?
Okay. What's the most expensive and therefore risky thing in Joel's house?
The crystal egg.
The crystal egg. Okay. Where did the crystal egg come from? Because it's not explained in the movie.
Chicken.
It comes from a crystal chicken. Where does the crystal chicken live?
The Crystal Farm.
Which is located
in the Crystal Kingdom.
Down the road from Joel's house in the Crystal Kingdom.
In the Crystal,
right?
Yeah.
What if the Crystal
King and Queen live?
Exactly. And how does one achieve a crystal egg?
Well, you have to find the crystal chicken, and then it lays the crystal egg, and then you have to ask the chicken. 3
questions. One of it's a lie, and 2 of them are you have to play 2 truths and a lie with the chicken. Here's the thing: the crystal chicken, which lays the crystal eggs, you are correct, in the Crystal Palace, is guarded by 2 non-crystal, actual murderous guards.
I really thought that you were going to say, like, oh, it's risky business, but instead of the whole sex thing, it's like he has to go and, I don't know, sell, like, illegal candy or something. But no, here we are at the Crystal Palace with the crystal chicken and the riddles.
You commented on how this film has a dreamlike quality, okay? And that the dreamlike quality of it all means that they can shoot the film in interesting ways. And it's just a sort of a lovely kind of weird film. Yes?
Sure.
I'm just wondering if maybe we double down on that fantasy dreamlike thing. And maybe what happens is his friends come over and they play poker and they drink and maybe they get a little stoned. And he goes into a dreamlike state where he thinks one of his friends has stolen the crystal egg and he has to get it back, which was part of this movie. But it goes full fantasy and he has to battle the crystalline guards outside of the crystal castle. Like a labyrinth situation. But it's not David Bowie, but I'd love to suggest that it's someone else from the 80s who's the crystal chicken. Maybe it's like Morris. It's Kate Bush. It's Kate Bush.
It's me, Kathy.
Right. It's me.
She would be great in that sort of role. Holy moly, I would love to see that.
So you're saying Kate Bush would nail the role of the crystal chicken who lays the crystal eggs?
Well, she would have to be the crystal queen, I feel like. The crystal chicken would have to be, a puppet.
Yes, the crystal chicken is a puppet. Yes, it is. It is a full-on Jim Henson, Frank Oz situation.
We can't do Jim Henson again.
All right.
Maybe it's a stop motion crystal chicken.
Oh, so it's like an Aardman film sort of claymation vibe?
Yeah, claymation, baby.
Right. And for whatever reason, just for a second, Wallace is also there and he goes, ooh, crystal eggs, Gromit.
We've forgotten the crackers.
Maybe Joel gets hit on the head by the crystal egg for some reason, and that's why he goes into this dream sequence where he thinks that it's been stolen by, hey, heck, shoot and heck. Maybe he thinks it's been stolen by a prostitute.
Yeah.
That's fine, right? That happened in the movie.
How about it's like one of those things where there's a whole dream sequence and then at the end he wakes up and then it's like you see all the different characters from their life and they were in the
yeah,
in the fantasy, like it's like a Wizard of Oz situation, and it's like, oh yeah, you were the crystal chicken, but actually it's just like Deborah from next door.
Exactly. What do you mean, Joel? And she sort of goes, has a chicken sort of a vibe. It's the 80s, so her hair could look a little bit like a.
But also, yeah, like she has a glove on her head like Feathers McGraw. In the Grand Budapest Hotel where they have a stop motion scene, where they go skiing and it's like a really nice little transition into stop motion, kind of like that. So there's a blend between the two. We've got the stop motion crystal chicken, but we also have real
life chicken,
real life stuff.
Okay,
yeah,
I like it. And I wonder, it's magical. It's whimsical. It's a bit like, the never-ending story that starts out real, and before you know it, Artex is sinking into the sorrow, swamp of sorrow, right? Yeesh. Too dark. And before you know it, the rock biters just hanging out, chewing on rocks, and Falcor is flying through the air, and that princess is like, my name, say it. But then he's back at the library just eating sandwiches before you know it. Fantasy,
So it's what we're saying is it's the fantasy version of this, and the risky business is that he's got to get the egg back, and that's kind of
he's got to get the egg back.
More whimsical and dreamy.
Yeah, but make it more whimsical. But you could also still include the sex workers.
Yeah.
They're still there, right?
Sure.
An evil Master Guido, right? The serpent lord of fire. Who's he? That's like a riff on the guy who plays the pimp, He could be there too. Yeah, I think that it would be about 2 notches away from The Princess Bride and not quite as far as the what was that movie from the 80s? The Cauldron, the Black Cauldron. You know what I mean? That everybody thinks is weird and wonderful, but definitely never-ending story vibes. And that for me is way more 80s than a bunch of horny dudes trying to enact
Bone down. But it's still got Tom Cruise and the Aviators, right? Wait, no, what are they? Wayfarers.
Yeah,
those are some cool sunglasses.
Cool glasses, except he does that on the surface of the moon, holding a crystalline egg and shouting, "Ooh!" like a wolf. And then he goes, "No mission is impossible." Wink.
And then the Mission Impossible tune plays, which I can't remember how does it go? Yeah, and it transitions straight into the beginning of Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible bag.
Print. I feel like we've come on the end of a wild journey here, and I think this is going to be a really interesting and spicy end to it.
I think so. Muy caliente.
At the end of our podcast, once we've gone a little bit wild gone a little bit wacky,
Mm-hmm.
gone off the rails a bit,
Mm-hmm.
we like to pull the minecart back onto the track.
Yep.
And we rate the movie that we've talked about. So
Put the rails back on, tidy up the house,
yeah,
chill out. Yeah.
sweep up the floor.
So
So I'd love to know, on a scale of 1 to 5 crystal eggs. See what I did there? It's the
Wait.
we do food and
I like it.
It's crystal.
I like it.
How many eggs do you rate this movie, Risky Business?
2.5 eggs. I don't want to watch it again, and it made me feel weird. So that's a 2.5. That's my rating system. What about you? How many eggs, Emma?
I'm gonna give it a 4.
Oh Lordy, traveled so far. Oh Lordy.
I enjoyed watching it. I thought it was interesting. I would watch it again.
Wow.
I'm
Cool.
sorry. Am I cancelled now?
I am the
I like
Eggman.
the sex movie.
You are the Eggman. You're also the walrus. Cuckoo, cuckoo. No, you're not a
I
bad
enjoyed it.
person. You're a great
enjoyed
person.
It. I thought it was interesting.
You're from
We
a
don't
different
have to always
generation.
like
I'm
the
far more repressed than you are. I probably need to talk to my analyst about it,
Yeah. I am pretty... What's the opposite of repressed?
Just kind of loosey-goosey.
Loosey-goosey, baby.
Whee!
Loosey-goosey. So yeah, crystal chickens and loosey-gooseys is the lesson from this week's podcast. So
Mhm.
stay in school, kids.
Think about it, nerds. Ponder that.
Yeah. And don't call the dodgy number in the newspaper. Whatever you do.
Don't do it.
But most of all, thank you for listening to this episode of Plot Twisters.
Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts if you have the time.
And we'll see you next time.
Toodaloo, friends.
Toodaloo.
Toodaloo. Bum, 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 bum.